Hi Dirk, welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Kevin.
You've written the book, Do Not Fuck But Fund the Crowd. A bold title.
Do you think so? Thank you. We worked hard on that title, believe me.
but let's start with explaining why this book. Why did you write a book on this subject?
Yes, well, I always try to write books. It's my 50th book, I think, 50. I always try to write books that fill a hole in the markets. And as I'm consulting SMEs and non-profit organizations on finance, I found out, in fact, that there is, and it's also the case in France, it's also the case in the Netherlands, it's also the case in Belgium, that there is no up-to-date, neither book, neither website on which crowdfunding platforms are available and still active. Yeah? There is a lot about which crowdfunding platforms did exist and what did they do, but a big majority is out of the market today. And so I thought it's time that someone writes once a book that is usable for 1 or 2 years and in which you can find also the names of those who stopped. Because a lot of SMEs who do research, they find 70 names and 9 of them stopped already. So they lose, in fact, a lot of time.
Yeah, but we will come back on why so many stop so fast. But first, in your opinion, what's the definition of crowdfunding?
Yeah, that's a very good question. The definition I use is that a third-party platform helps you through internet applications, social media or others to fund your project, yes, and tries to get the money from the crowd. That's in fact, in a rough word, crowdfunding. There are 16 forms, 8 major forms, 4 main forms of crowdfunding, but that's in its essence, in fact, the scheme. The crowd funds you through a platform.
Yeah, but what I learned from your book is that it's not always money that is funded, but can also be people helping or stuff like that.
Yes, indeed. It's a very huge misunderstanding that crowdfunding only funds money. It can fund money, but it also can indeed fund expertise, volunteering time, for example, relationships, furniture. It can give you knowledge through feedback from the crowd about a new product. It can bring in participation into a certain field, a political field, or an ecological problem, for example.
As you say it, crowdfunding sounds very attractive. A lot of businesses are looking for money or other resources. Why isn't there the big breakthrough yet in crowdfunding, you think?
I'll have to correct you.
Okay.
There is no big breakthrough on crowdfunding in Belgium.
Okay.
But Belgium is a very bad apprentice, I would say. If you look to the UK, which is the lead, it was in the EU before, which was the lead in the previous EU before it left. If you look at the Netherlands, there, in fact, crowdfunding, especially crowd lending, the funding loans, is very, very important. In the UK, for example, the 10 major crowdfunders do more loans than the banks.
Oh, that's impressive.
Yes, that's very impressive. In France, there are crowdfunders who have 150,000 non-profit organizations as clients to fund. In the States, there are websites who do easily 1 to 2 billion US dollars in a very specific niche market, like, for example, education, schools, universities, scientific research. But you are right, I'm coming back to your question, you're right, in Belgium, it is not really a very big success yet.
And where, in your opinion, where lies the difference between all those countries? Is it just not known here yet, or are there other reasons why it's not taking off in certain countries and in others it does?
Yes, well, in fact, there are two types of reasons. There are reasons for success and there are reasons for failure. Yeah. If you look at the reasons for success in the United States, for example, in the States, there is a long tradition of financing SMEs outside of the banking world. So in fact, crowdfunding as a new instrument went into a very large market. Yeah? If you look at the UK, the fiscal advantages are very, very important for the investors. And so, of course, investors like risk-rewarded investments, which are also fiscally advantageously treated. Yes? If you look to the reasons for failure, we come to Belgium. A lot of the crowdfunding platforms did not survive because they didn't have enough volume. Yeah? There were too many competitors at a certain moment in the same markets, generic markets or specific markets. And so, of course, you need volume to survive because a platform takes between 0 to 16%, but 16 is very rare, as income on the volume raised. And of course, you cannot live from 2-3% on a low volume. In those reasons for failure, I found out, for example, in the Netherlands, all the design platforms, except for one, went financially, I would say, bankrupt or did have to liquidate. Yeah? And I think also that in that case, very probably design is a very, very difficult object to buy at a certain distance. Huh? We talk about design, we don't talk about old art where there is a certificate from an expert, of course. Huh?
Yeah. Dirk, if you look at the events industry, how could crowdfunding or crowdfunding platforms help our industry, in your opinion?
Oh, yes. Well, outside COVID periods.
Yeah, that's an important one.
It could help a lot, of course, but we must not, in that case, we go into more the field of sales crowdfunding. Through crowdfunders, you can sell whatever you want, new products, new music, for example. But let's not forget, this was a market which was already far advanced, even before crowdfunding came up. But there are different applications. I think, for example, in the United States, there are a lot of very nice applications. In Belgium, they all failed. There were some applications like Akka Music, for example, but they all had not enough volume to, let's say, to give really good results. But sales of tickets is the best example I think you can give. And of course, creating a platform on which artists can give things away that you normally cannot get from an artist. I can give an example: exclusive interviews. An encounter like this one, you are the artist, I am the client or the guy that gave you money, and I invite at my home 20 people or 200 people, and we have a discussion with you, or you give us a private concert. All that is possible through crowdfunding. Pre-sales, you could sell the best tickets to those who support you. Some crowdfunders did install monthly support, which means you give your preferred artist $10 a month, and in exchange for that, you get everything before all other fans. So it costs you €120 or dollar per year, but you get something from your favorite artist in advance. Financing the first discs, for example, also is very, very often done in the market, even in Africa today, through crowdfunding. But of course, it stays not an easy market. Huh?
Yeah, but for example, an example I heard of is festival organizers. Normally, what they do is they book artists, they organize the event, and start selling the tickets, and then you come to the concert. But that's taking a huge risk. If you turn it around and say, okay, we will first do crowdfunding, sell tickets, and if we sell enough tickets, we will organize the event, and if we don't, you get all your money back. That are also examples, I think, that are very interesting for our industry.
Yes, of course, pre-sales. Pre-sales. Mm-hmm. You sell first, and you organize afterwards. Of course, it's not an easy market, because today you can book almost every artist because they are all free. But in a normal world, mm-hmm. pre-sales, if you don't have an option, is a very dangerous world, of course. You cannot ensure, I think, pre-sales with an insurer if you don't have a contract with mm-hmm. the artist. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have a contract with the artist, you risk that it's not free. You know that for especially famous artists, they make tours and you have to fall into the tour site, etc., etc. But of course, it works. It works for small events today, even in the COVID crisis. It works.
Could you also use? You said volunteers and things like that can also be crowdfunded. Could that also work? For example, if you say, okay, I'm the organizer of Rock Werchter or Tomorrowland or whatever, and I need people to help.
Yes, you can. You can. There is, in almost every country, the US, France, Belgium, the Netherlands, there are sites that do exist where you can present yourself as, especially and mainly if you are a non-profit organization. Mm-hmm. And there you can get very easily, the demand is often high. Today it's very low, I see, but the demand is often very high, but also the candidates are very numerous. Why? Because people can come for free and mm-hmm. listen to their favorite artist. Yes, there's a huge market for that, indeed.
Yeah. You were talking in the beginning of the interview about those platforms. The only platform I really know is Kickstarter, because I'm a gadget freak and I buy a lot of stuff on Kickstarter. What other platforms should somebody working in the event industry know?
Oh, in the event industry, I'll have a look at my list. Mm-hmm. Well, for example, for sailing around, if you want to organize something for sailing around, Eco-Sea Outdoor, for example, mm-hmm. okay, it's French, it's not Belgian, but it has a very, very high success rate. Success rate means on every campaign which is launched on the site, if there are 100 campaigns, the success rate gives the number that does succeed in getting the money it needs. Mm-hmm. And Eco-Sea Outdoor is doing something like 80% today, 80%.
That's impressive.
Which is unbelievable. You cited Kickstarter, but there is, of course, I think personally, you didn't ask the question, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think the best, I think, is Ulule.
Okay.
Ulule has a success rate of something between 60 to 98% in a lot of matters. All I looked at was in that range, which means you have 6 out of 10 chances that you get financed totally for all the money you need. Yeah, and mm-hmm. in some markets it even goes very, very higher. There is Ulule Voyage, for example, also if you want to take a trip with other people, 81%. Patreon is very, very good for artists. Mm-hmm. Bandcamp, Reverb Nation, they're all marvelous sites, I think, for your sector. Yeah.
There are in these times a lot of companies in our industry are in trouble because the event industry is closed for more than a year now, and they're looking for money to rebuild their companies. No, most of them are now currently looking at banks to help them out. Could also crowdfunding be a way to get funded to get your company through this crisis?
Yes, we could imagine that you do pre-sales on a number of tickets of a number of artists which are from the same field, for example, rock artists, that you say, I'm going to invite out of the list of those 50 rock artists, 20 of them next year in 2022 or 2023, you pay today and you get them and you get the tickets afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, or even not only organizers, but for example, I'm a tent rental company. That could also be a case. In financial trouble right now because I can't put my tents in the market because there are no events. Also, those companies are looking for financing their debt at this moment.
Yes, what I've seen, but that's not very easy, is also their pre-sales. People that sell, you can use our XAZ furniture 2 or 3 days, the day that you organize something, and we give you a discount of 20 or 30%. I've seen it in the market. It's not easy because people have, of course, to trust that you will still exist. Huh? What I see is also shares. Some people try to dump. I'm sorry for using that word, but it's a bit dumping, of course. Try to sell less expensive than normally a part of new shares, so they do a capital augmentation, in fact, or a net worth augmentation with third parties. Of course, those profit from the fact that it's cheaper today than normally, but okay, it helps, of course, also people to survive. Huh?
Yeah, maybe one last question. If I look at those Kickstarter campaigns, I know when you were already talking about success ratios, what I do see is that people who organize the funding put a lot of effort in creating a great video to explain their products, good text, interact with the community, even start advertising on social media to get attention. What is the success for having a good crowdfunding campaign?
There are something like 50 factors. I'll pick some out. Huh?
Yeah.
In fact, women do it better than men.
Okay.
And that's on all sides like that, because women are more realistic, are more modest, so they ask more realistic amounts. So they get easier into the amount they want to get. Secondly, you'd better start with a team. Teams do up till 30% better than individuals. Yeah? Innovation works better than old-fashioned products or styles. Yeah? Whatever has to do with innovation and techniques, you cited Kickstarter, for example, that works very, very well. If you are a non-profit or a profit organization, don't ask money for general funding, but start a new line, start a new project, because new projects work better than the old financing or financing the traditional way of working of the company. And so we can go on and go on. It's if you, for example, give feedback to people during your crowdfunding, you get up till the double of when you don't go into contact with the people who already gave money, because here is they will give a second or a third or a fourth time even money. The more you talk with them, the more you interact with them, the more you get normally from them. And the book is full, in fact, of that type of suggestions. I did look at all the studies and I did put them all together into a logic order.
Yeah, people who want to know more, they can buy your book, obviously. So Dirk, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts on this subject with us.
Yeah, no problem. Maybe you should say the book is in Dutch.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Do you have plans to also translate it or not yet?
I might do a book in French, but there is no plan for English, to be honest.
Not yet, but maybe that changes. And you at home, thank you for watching our show. I hope to see you next week.